My name is Mark, and I'm a Marine instructor in Charlotte. What I'm about to tell you still keeps me awake at night, even though it's been over a year since everything fell apart. I never wanted to be that guy, the other man. Monica and I had history. We dated years ago before she met Marcus. When we ran into each other at a waterfront bar last spring, it felt like no time had passed. She told me she was married to a security guard, living in a nice apartment in downtown Charlotte. She had a golden retriever that she'd sometimes bring to our meetings. But when she looked at me, I saw something I didn't see in anyone else's eyes. She truly loved me. Not her life, not the stability, but me. We started seeing each other in secret. Monica was a mechanic, worked odd hours, which made our meetings easier to arrange. I knew it was wrong, but I convinced myself that if she was seeking me out, her marriage must already be over. She told me Marcus controlled her, that their 4 years together had been a mistake. I believed her because I wanted to believe. Everything came to a head at an EDM festival in Charlotte last summer. Monica told Marcus she was going with coworkers. Instead, she was with me. We spent the weekend at a hotel, dancing, talking about a future together. She even mentioned leaving him. For those 2 days, I let myself believe we could actually do this. But Marcus wasn't a fool. He noticed the deleted messages, the changing stories. Monica had gotten sloppy and he knew something was off. Instead of confronting her directly, he did something smarter. He asked his friend to follow her. His friend tracked her to the festival, took photos of us together, holding hands, kissing. Marcus had everything he needed. When Monica came home, Marcus didn't explode. He was calm, methodical. He showed her the pictures and said he wanted a divorce. Monica tried to explain, made excuses, but he'd already stopped listening. Then she dropped news that made everything infinitely worse. She was pregnant and wasn't sure if it was his or mine. Marcus demanded a paternity test. Monica refused, and within a week, she had an abortion. She didn't tell me about it until after it was done. When she called me, sobbing, saying she terminated the pregnancy because she couldn't handle the uncertainty, something inside me broke. Whether that baby was mine or not, she'd made that decision without even telling me. That's when I realized Monica didn't love me the way I thought. She loved the escape I represented. She loved the thrill, the fantasy of a different life. But when reality crashed down, when she actually had to face consequences, she made the easiest choice for herself. Marcus, meanwhile, was playing an entirely different game. While Monica was falling apart and trying to get me to promise we'd be together after the divorce, Marcus was systematically protecting himself. He'd apparently seen this coming for months and had been moving money into offshore accounts that his friend helped him set up. Marcus was wealthy, far more than Monica had ever let on, and he made sure she wouldn't be able to touch most of it. When their divorce went through, they split what was visible. The apartment went to him, some savings were divided, he kept the dog. But the bulk of Marcus's wealth had vanished into accounts Monica's lawyer could barely trace. She got her fair share of what she could prove existed, but it was nothing close to what she'd expected. Marcus had methodically documented every lie, every deleted message, every suspicious expense. He'd built an airtight case that painted her as a calculating cheater who got pregnant and terminated to avoid accountability. The worst part? Monica came to me after the divorce was finalized, expecting us to start our life together. She showed up at my place with 2 suitcases and that hopeful look in her eyes. I looked at her and saw a stranger. This wasn't the girl I'd dated years ago. This wasn't even the woman I thought I'd been having an affair with. This was someone who'd destroyed her marriage, terminated a pregnancy without a second thought, and now expected me to pick up the pieces. I told her I couldn't do it. I couldn't be with someone who'd proven she'd lie to everyone, including herself. She accused me of using her, of leading her on. Maybe she was right. Maybe we'd both been using each other for different reasons. But I knew any relationship built on the foundation we'd created would eventually crumble just like her marriage had. Monica left Charlotte a few months later. I heard she moved to Raleigh, trying to start fresh. Marcus is still here. I've seen him by the waterfront from time to time. We've never spoken, but there's a certain look he gives me that says he knows exactly who I am and what I did. But there's no anger in it. Just cold satisfaction, like he won a game I didn't even know we were playing. The truth is he did win. Marcus lost a cheating wife but kept his dignity, his money, and his dog. Monica lost everything, her marriage, her home, her chance at motherhood, and eventually me. And I lost whatever innocence I had left about love and loyalty. I still teach Marine courses, still live in Charlotte. But I don't date anyone. When people ask why, I don't tell them about Monica. I just say I'm focused on work. Because how do you explain that you helped destroy a marriage, lost someone you thought you loved, and realized too late that you were just a supporting character in someone else's revenge story. Marcus didn't need private investigators, the FBI, or dramatic confrontations. He just needed patience, a loyal friend, and enough intelligence to protect what was his before everything fell apart. That's what real revenge looks like. It's not loud or explosive. It's quiet, calculated, and absolutely devastating. Monica thought she could have it all, the security of marriage and the passion of an affair. Instead, she ended up with nothing. And me? I'm the guy who helped her get there, and I have to live with that every single day. Sometimes late at night, I think about that pregnancy. Whose it was. What could have been. But mostly I think about Marcus, quietly moving his money while his wife was deleting text messages. He saw the end long before Monica or I did, and he made damn sure that when the music stopped, he wouldn't be the one left without a chair. The festival had been everything Monica dreamed of: 3 days of pulsing bass, neon lights, and crowds of people lost in the music. We stayed at a boutique hotel just blocks from the venue, the kind with exposed brick walls and a rooftop bar. Between sets, we'd retreat there, drinking craft cocktails and talking about how different our lives could be. Monica would lean against me, her hair smelling like jasmine and festival sweat, and whisper about apartments we could rent together, trips we could take, a life free from her suffocating marriage. Marcus doesn't understand me, she'd say, her fingers tracing patterns on my arm. He thinks providing is the same as loving. He works his security shifts, comes home, feeds the dog, and thinks that's a relationship. With you, I feel alive again. I believed every word. Or maybe I just wanted to believe them badly enough that I ignored the red flags. The way she'd sometimes check her phone anxiously, then quickly put it away. The moments when her expression would go distant, like she was calculating something I couldn't see. The fact that she never seemed to feel guilty, not really. She'd say she felt bad, but it was always followed by justifications. Reasons why she deserved this happiness, why what we were doing was somehow different from ordinary betrayal. That Sunday night, our last night at the festival, we stood in the crowd during the headliner's set. The bass was so loud I could feel it in my chest, and strobe lights cut through artificial fog. Monica turned to me, grabbed my face with both hands, and kissed me hard. "I'm going to tell him," she shouted over the music. "When I get home, I'm going to tell Marcus everything. I want to be with you." I should have felt elated. Instead, I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. Something about the way she said it felt performative, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. But I pushed that feeling down, kissed her back, and told myself this was the beginning of our real life together. Marcus's friend, a guy named Dave who worked security at the same company, had been following us since Friday night. Marcus had suspected something for weeks, maybe months. The late-night texts Monica would hide. The way she'd started dressing differently, taking more care with her appearance even when she was supposedly just going to work. The credit card charges from restaurants she claimed to have eaten at alone. Marcus was methodical by nature, a trait that served him well in his line of work, and he applied that same careful observation to his crumbling marriage. Dave got it all. Photos of us checking into the hotel together. Us at the festival, my arm around her waist. Us kissing on that rooftop bar, the Charlotte skyline glittering behind us. He even got video of us slow dancing to an acoustic set on Saturday afternoon, Monica's head on my chest, both of us looking disgustingly happy. Marcus didn't need much, but Dave gave him everything. The confrontation happened Tuesday evening. Monica had told me Marcus worked late Tuesdays, so she was surprised when she came home from her shift at the garage to find him sitting at their dining table, laptop open, that golden retriever named Rusty lying at his feet. She told me later that she knew immediately. Something about the way he looked at her, not angry, not hurt, just done. "Sit down," he said, and she did. He turned the laptop toward her and played a slideshow. Every photo Dave had taken, organized chronologically. The hotel. The festival. The bar. Monica said she tried to speak, to explain, but Marcus held up one hand. "I don't need to hear it," he said. "I just need you to know that I know. I want a divorce. I've already spoken to a lawyer. You can have Rusty in your car. We'll split the visible assets 50-50. I'll move out by the end of the month." Monica told me she panicked then, that the words came tumbling out before she could stop them. "I'm pregnant," she said. "I'm pregnant, Marcus, and I don't know whose it is." She told me later that she thought it might make him fight for her, might make him realize what they were losing. Instead, it sealed everything. Marcus's expression didn't change. He just nodded slowly, like she'd confirmed something he'd suspected. "We'll do a paternity test," he said. "Once the baby is born." "And if it's yours?" Monica asked. "Then we'll figure out custody," Marcus replied. but we're still getting divorced. That's when Monica truly understood that she'd lost him. Not just the marriage but any respect he'd ever had for her. She could see it in his eyes. She wasn't his wife anymore, wasn't even really a person to him. She was just a problem to be solved, a mistake to be corrected as efficiently as possible. The abortion happened 9 days later. Monica called me from the clinic parking lot, hysterical. She said she couldn't go through with a paternity test, couldn't spend the next 7 months in limbo, couldn't bring a child into this mess. She said Marcus would have used the pregnancy against her in court, would have made everything so much harder. She said she had no choice. I sat in my truck outside the marina where I teach, listening to her sob through my phone and felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything, anger, grief, betrayal, relief, all at once, so it canceled out into numbness. I realized then that I didn't really know this woman. The Monica I'd dated years ago, the girl who'd been spontaneous and funny and a little reckless in innocent ways, was gone. This person who could terminate a pregnancy for strategic reasons while her marriage burned down around her, I didn't know her at all. "Did you want me to be there?" I asked. "At the clinic?" There was a long pause. "I didn't think about it," she admitted. "I just needed it done." That was the truth of it. She didn't think about me or the baby or Marcus or anyone but herself. And maybe that's what betrayal really is, not the lying or the cheating but the fundamental selfishness that makes those things possible. Marcus's offshore accounts were the real masterstroke. He'd started moving money 8 months before the festival, before he'd even known for sure about the affair. He told his lawyer later that he just had a feeling that Monica had been different, distant. His friend Dave had connections from his previous work in private security, knew people who knew people. They set up accounts in the Cayman Islands, in Singapore, in Switzerland. Nothing illegal, just smart asset protection. By the time Monica figured out what was happening, 70% of Marcus's wealth was untouchable. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Monica's lawyer tried everything, arguing that Marcus had hidden assets, that he'd planned the whole thing, that his documentation of her infidelity was invasive and possibly illegal. But Marcus had been too careful. Every account he'd opened was properly reported, just difficult to access in a divorce. Every photo and message he'd saved had been on his own devices or obtained through legal means. He'd even recorded some of their conversations. North Carolina is a one-party consent state, so it was perfectly legal. In the end, Monica got their shared savings account, her car, and a small settlement that covered about 3 months of her old lifestyle. Marcus got the apartment, Rusty, his pension, and the peace of mind that comes from a job well done. His lawyer called it one of the cleanest divorces he'd ever handled, from Marcus's side at least. From Monica's side it was a massacre. 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Monica showed up at my apartment. It was a Saturday morning and I was getting ready to head to the marina. She had 2 large suitcases, her work jacket thrown over one arm, and that look, that desperate, hopeful, slightly manic look that I'd seen before on people who'd lost everything and were clinging to the last rope. "I'm here," she said, like that explained everything. "We can be together now. No more hiding, no more Marcus, just us." I stood in my doorway, still in my coffee-stained t-shirt and sweatpants, and looked at this woman I'd supposedly loved enough to destroy a marriage over. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Her mechanic's hands, usually so confident, were shaking slightly. Her hair, which she'd always kept long and dark, was cut short and dyed lighter. She looked like someone trying to become a different person and failing. "Monica," I said. "I can't." Her face crumpled. "What do you mean you can't? This is what we wanted. This is what we talked about." "No," I said, and the certainty in my own voice surprised me. "This is what you talked about. I listened. But I can't do this. I can't be with you." "Because of the baby?" Her voice was sharp, defensive. "I made the best choice I could. I was trying to protect us." "You made a choice without telling me," I said. "And maybe it was the right choice, I don't know. But you did it alone, just like you decided to cheat alone, just like you decided everything alone. And now you want me to be the solution to the problem you created. I can't be that." She screamed at me then. Called me a coward, a user, a liar. Said I'd seduced her, had pursued her, had made her think we had a future. Maybe some of that was true. Probably all of it was from her perspective. But I knew that if I took her in, if I let her stay, we'd just be building a new lie on top of all the old ones. And eventually that would collapse too. I watched her leave, dragging those suitcases down my apartment complex stairs, and felt something close to relief. Also shame, guilt, and a bone-deep exhaustion. But mostly relief. The first time I saw Marcus after everything went down was about 5 months later. I was at the waterfront early one morning, getting a sailboat ready for a lesson, when I noticed a man and a golden retriever walking along the pier. I recognized Rusty first, that distinctive gait, the way he'd pause to sniff every third piling. Then I saw Marcus. He looked good. Better than good, actually. He'd lost weight, gotten tan, looked rested. He was wearing running gear, expensive looking. Rusty was well-groomed, happy. They looked like an advertisement for a healthy life. Marcus saw me too. Our eyes met for just a moment. He didn't nod, didn't acknowledge me at all really. He just looked at me with this expression I couldn't quite read. Not anger, not triumph, just knowledge. Like he could see straight through me to all the pathetic, selfish, weak things I'd done. Then he looked away and kept walking. I see him sometimes now, always from a distance. Always with Rusty. Sometimes alone, sometimes with a woman, different women, casual, none of them looking too serious. He rebuilt his life quickly, efficiently, the same way he dismantled his marriage. And why wouldn't he? He'd gotten out clean, kept what mattered to him, lost only the thing that was already poisoned. Monica's social media went dark about 6 months after she left Charlotte. I checked it occasionally, that guilty reflex you can't quite break. The last post was from Raleigh, a photo of a coffee shop with some generic caption about new beginnings. Her friends list had shrunk dramatically. Her photos were all solo shots now. No more tagged pictures of her laughing with friends, no more check-ins at the garage where she'd worked. She'd become a ghost of her former life. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd had trouble finding work in Raleigh. Word had gotten around somehow, small communities talk even in different cities. A cheating wife who'd gotten pregnant and had an abortion to cover it up made for good gossip. Fair or not, Monica's reputation had preceded her. Last I heard, she was working at a big chain auto shop, making less than half what she'd made at her old garage, living in a studio apartment in a rough part of town. As for me, I kept teaching. Kept living in my mediocre apartment with its view of the parking lot. Kept waking up early to prepare boats for tourists and retirees who wanted to learn to sail. My life didn't change much externally, but internally, something had fundamentally shifted. I'd learned that love, or what I'd called love, could be just as destructive as hate. That desire could make you rationalize almost anything. That being the other person doesn't make you special or passionate, it just makes you complicit. I tried dating once, about 8 months after Monica left. A woman named Sarah, also a marine instructor, transferred to our Charlotte location from the coast. She was pretty, funny, uncomplicated. We went out 3 times. On the 3rd date, she asked me why I seemed so distant, so unwilling to open up. I tried to explain without explaining, said something vague about a bad previous relationship. She deserved better than my carefully edited half-truths, so I ended things. Haven't tried since. Late at night, when I can't sleep, I run through the whole timeline again. Meeting Monica at that bar. That first kiss, stolen in my truck in a parking garage. The hotel rooms, always mid-range places where we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. The festival, those 2 days when I'd let myself believe the fantasy completely. Marcus's careful, methodical dismantling of everything Monica thought she had. The pregnancy that might have been mine. The abortion I never got a say in. Monica's face at my door, realizing I wasn't her salvation. Marcus walking past me on the pier with his dog, already moved on. I think about the baby most. Not because I definitely wanted to be a father, I didn't, not then, maybe not ever. But because someone should think about it. Someone should acknowledge that in the wreckage of 3 adults making terrible decisions, there was almost a 4th life, and that life got erased because none of us could handle the consequences of our actions. Monica couldn't handle the uncertainty. Marcus couldn't handle staying married to someone who'd betrayed him. And I couldn't handle taking responsibility for a situation I'd helped create. The nuclear revenge, that's what someone on Reddit called it when I posted an anonymous version of this story months ago. They said Marcus had executed the perfect takedown, that he was a genius, that all betrayed spouses should learn from his example. Maybe they're right. Marcus protected himself, documented everything, moved his assets, and walked away with his dignity and his wealth intact. He won by every metric that matters in a divorce. But I think about the cost of that kind of victory. Marcus spent months planning, calculating, documenting, all while living with a woman he knew was betraying him. He had to smile through dinners, sleep in the same bed, maintain the performance of a marriage while systematically preparing for its destruction. That takes something out of you. That requires turning off some essential part of your humanity, the part that hopes, that trusts, that believes things might get better. Maybe he thinks it was worth it. Maybe it was. But I wonder if he ever lies awake at night, thinking about the marriage he'd had before the betrayal started, wondering when exactly things went wrong, if there was a moment he could have stopped it. Or maybe he doesn't think about it at all. Maybe that's what separates people like Marcus from people like Monica and me, the ability to execute a plan without drowning in second thoughts. The festival itself becomes more surreal in my memory with each passing month. The lights, the music, the crush of bodies, Monica's hand in mine. It feels like something that happened to a different person in a different life. That version of me who thought he was in love, who thought secret hotel rooms and stolen weekends could build into something real, he's gone. The person left behind knows too much about consequences, about the gap between fantasy and reality, about how quickly things can fall apart when they're built on lies. Sometimes I drive past Monica's old apartment building, the place she shared with Marcus. It's a nice building, brick facade, balconies overlooking downtown. I imagine Marcus there now, living in a space he reclaimed, maybe redecorated, stripped of any evidence that Monica ever existed there. I imagine him successful, content, his revenge complete. I imagine him never thinking about her at all. And I imagine Monica in Raleigh in some small apartment, working a job she's overqualified for, trying to rebuild a life from nothing. Maybe she tells herself it was all worth it, that she followed her heart, that she has no regrets. Or maybe she lies awake at night like I do, running through the choices that led her here, wondering when exactly she became the villain in her own story. The truth I've come to accept is that there are no heroes in this story. Marcus might have one, but he's still a man who lost 4 years of his life to a marriage that ended in betrayal. Monica might have lost everything, but she made every choice that led her there, knowingly, deliberately. And me? I'm the guy who saw a married woman looking at him with desire and decided that was more important than doing the right thing. I teach sailing to people who want to learn something new, who have the luxury of free time and disposable income for hobbies. I smile, I'm patient, I explain the principles of navigation and wind resistance and safety procedures. I'm good at my job. People like me. They sometimes invite me out for drinks after lessons and I always decline politely. They ask if I'm married, if I have kids, what I do on weekends. I keep my answers vague, friendly but distant. Because how do you tell people that you're the supporting character in someone else's revenge story? That you helped destroy a marriage, broke your own heart, and learned that love isn't always noble or pure or worth the damage it causes? You don't. You just smile and talk about the weather and the water conditions, and you keep the darkness locked away where it belongs. Thank you for watching this video. I see that 98% of you are still watching videos without subscribing to the channel. Perhaps YouTube will no longer offer videos from this channel in the future, so I recommend subscribing. This will also allow me to see what stories you are interested in, which will motivate me to release new videos. Also, keep writing in the comments what stories you would like to hear. I try to read all the comments and choose topics for videos that appeal to the maximum number of subscribers. Now you have a playlist on your screen where you can find more stories that were released before you found this channel. You can also go to the channel and watch them there.